Hey, this is Bryan Lee, director of Marshall and Quinn, director and writer. This was a long time process. I had written this a while back. Started out originally as like an episodic little buddy cop thing. I originally had this episode, which is this first sequence. Of course, that's here we go. Coming out the door is John Feeney playing Scott Quinn and Ryan Clausen as Jake Marshall. But I actually written this. I'd written just this kind of action sequence, this hostage situation scene. Kind of liked the idea and thought it'd be kind of fun to do kind of an episodic short film following these cops. Just in different adventures. Like every episode was supposed to be a different adventure. And then I kind of came with the idea of linking them all together into a cohesive story, which ultimately resulted in this full film that you see right now. It was originally aired on YouTube in episodes. There's the lovely Susie Gordon, my good friend Mr. Christopher Lay, plays a creepy hostage taker pretty well, if I say so myself. But yeah, this is a abandoned motel out in Yucca, Arizona, right off the 40. I drove by it a million times, and I kept thinking, God, it's such a cool looking location. Stopped by one day, kind of walked around, looked through all the rooms, and thought it just looked freaking awesome. And we kind of snuck in guerrilla style, and just kind of went in there real quick. A couple hours, filmed all this scene, and kind of jammed out of there real quick. We there's my flaw up there, the phone number there. Somehow I missed that phone number. I didn't know how to get a hold of anybody, and somehow I never noticed the phone number there. And because I originally wanted to, properly ask permission. There's Mr. Jeffrey Weike. All of my band No More Heroes is in this film. It's actually in the first episode. John, of course, being the drummer. Jeff is the bass player. Chris is the guitarist. And I make a brief appearance right here. There's my cameo. I'm the first one killed, which is cool. And I'm playing Angry Birds, which I was kind of bummed how so few people caught the sound effects, the Angry Birds. I was really hoping for a laugh there, and I don't know how many people caught it, but don't fucking move, Jeff Weike. Anyway, I didn't know who to get a hold of with the motel, so we just kind of snuck in and knocked it out. And actually, while we were filming, the owner showed up, and he actually ended up being really cool. And it's kind of really funny because it turns out, it's a small world. It's weird. In a small little town in the middle of nowhere, that Chuck Liddell, the of course famous fighter, his dad owns this place, which is really weird. And he's like, yeah. He ended up several of the cast that day ended up with signed Chuck Liddell posters and stuff. So that was cool. There's Fernando Halsey and Rudy Galindo, both. This film was made basically a budget of nothing. I mean, we bought a few props and some fake blood, and that's about the extent of what we did for this. Everything else is friends, starring, locations, bringing props. The hero guns are real guns, which I kind of worried about running around with real guns along the freeway there. But we never had a single problem. We of course cleared all the chambers and made sure there was nothing in the clips, and everything was totally safe. But those are real guns. I figured you look at them enough, we'd kind of want them to make sure they're real, because some of these other ones you can kind of spot that they're not real guns. But a lot of this is obviously some of it's obvious CG, and but again, it's all keeping in the budget. About doing it super DIY, low budget, on a whim, guerrilla style, running and gunning kind of stuff. And this was the first episode we shot. I believe it was in April or May of 2012. And we had gone out, we filmed this first episode here, and I love Rudy's death. We had filmed that, and just everything got delayed so much. I mean, people were busy, there was stuff going on, we had problems with locations, we had scheduling conflicts, and it took a little over a year to actually shoot this whole film, using literally days at a time, where almost every episode was shot in a single day, for a few hours on one day. There were a couple episodes that we did split up, we did other stuff, but that right there was the entire first episode. And then we just tied them together into a full film. This, of course, episode 2. Of course, this 2 months passed. Marshall is back in service from taking a flesh wound in the side there.
Well, maybe if you hadn't gone
and the thing that I love about doing this is, since so many of it was friends of mine, I knew. I mean, there were no new people in this film. I mean, no one I didn't do any casting or anything like that. This is all my friends and people that I knew that would help out and were interested in doing it, which was awesome because it made for a really fun experience. We had a lot of fun. I have so many outtakes and bloopers, and a lot of this scene in the room here is improv. Funny little fact, that paper in front of John is actually the script. We just sold it as part of Xavier Roman's file. That was the explanation. We figured if anyone had ever what is he reading? Oh, that's just a Roman's file. it's actually the script. Because that was one of the biggest things we had is none of these guys are professional actors. None of these people. I mean, so a lot of this was done really kind of on a whim, last second. Okay, here's a weekend, we can come out and shoot this scene, and
watch this guy, we might learn a thing or two.
Some of the lines weren't memorized. A lot of it was improvised. This is my actual brother-in-law, Mike Gaffney, the driver, and an old friend of mine, Anthony Romano, playing the bald thug, Thug 2, Thug 1 and Thug 2. To be honest, actually, up into a day before we were supposed to film, we actually had a different guy, a different friend, who was supposed to play Thug 2. There's Dustin Seidner. Dude is hilarious. He doesn't really get to play up his humor in this particular film, but he's a super funny guy, super cool guy. But he kind of came in and was all for it, and it was cool with getting shoved into a trunk. But anyway, we had a different person planned to play Thug 2, the passenger thug. And a day or two before, he kind of bailed out on me, so didn't really know who else to get a hold of. And at the last second, talked to Anthony, and Anthony was totally down. He's an old friend of mine. He was in a band many years ago. I used to play a lot with Getaway Gunner. This is out. We shot all this stuff right around Kingman, basically. Yucca, I think, was the farthest we went to film. This was out on Shinnerump Road. Actually, this is on Oatman Highway, kind of the back road off the 40, if you're familiar with the area at all. This actually road will ultimately take you through the mountains into Oatman, Arizona. Little ghost town place. I haven't been there since I was a kid. But anyway, this was interesting. All this chase stuff. So the original plan was that's why I'd written every episode to kind of have something a little different to it. The first episode was a big shootout. Second episode was supposed to be the car chase. And then every episode kind of had an original theme. It kind of evolved from there. But with the car chase, I didn't know how we were going to pull it off. And so I had to get kind of creative with hanging out windows, the stuff where the camera over Anthony's head as he's shooting back at them was literally me hanging out the driver's side back window with my camera on a stick, basically extended across the roof over Anthony's head. Then some of it was shot from the back of a van with the doors strapped open as someone else drove, and I'm bungeed into the back of the van, so just in case I slip and I don't want to get run over. There's a nice little flaw there that my van in the far background. This was actually all ADR, if you can believe it. I had to drop out all the audio out of this shot. The wind. It doesn't look that bad, but man, it was just killing the mics. And this was during the process of this filming, our technology got a lot more evolved. We got better equipment as we progressed. This was pretty early on. I didn't have any good external mics, so the wind wiped all this out. So I had to go through, add all the footprints, add all the gunshots, the talking, the clicks. All the voices were ADR. It was a nightmare. This is actually the beginning of episode 3, picking right up off of episode 2, which, of course, in the full film, it's seamless and you don't really know. But it is. This is, of course, filmed a couple weeks later. Ryan did several different takes, different lines of insulting Mr. Danny Flo there, the punching thug.
In the blue corner, tied to a chair. It's the world's most
And actually, some of my favorite one, I think, is when we didn't use this one was good, the 3 drops line. But he actually did one that I used in the outtakes that I made. There he is, Jason Marino, Xavier Roman, and just behind him is one of my best friends, Mr. Jappy, Nathaniel Glentz, playing his right-hand man. But my favorite line Ryan gave to Danny Flo was when he was wearing his jacket, his leather jacket, was how many fake cows had to die to make that leather jacket? I love that. Early on, when I first wrote this, the script changed quite a bit. Actually, there was only there wasn't the right-hand man character originally. Originally, Jason shows up, Xavier Roman shows up, goes through this scene, and ends up dying in place of the right-hand man. But when I started planning it out, the first person I thought of, I had seen Jason's a photographer, super talented photographer, Imagine Photography, and he had this really rad picture of himself at it was like at an airport. It looked like he was out on the runway. The wind was blowing, his jacket was blowing in the wind, he had his shades on and stuff. He just looked super badass. And I was like, dude, he looks like a perfect mobster villain bad guy. It looked fantastic. This is probably one of my least favorite effects. We actually had a hose running up Danny's shirt that was supposed to spurt blood when he got stabbed, and it just failed miserably. It worked great in the tests that we did. When it came time to shooting, it was terrible, and I had to cut it and go digital, and I really regret that. But what are you gonna do? It's a learning process. You have to make it work. On a budget like this, you can't just go back and do reshoots. You got to make what you shot work. So anyway, Jason was the first person I had in mind for the part. I had seen the pictures of him, and he had been a friend for a while. And he came in, took it super seriously, had a great time with it, and was just like, killed it. And as soon as I had him for the part, I knew I had to extend the role. So I added another character and kind of introduced a little bit more stuff to it. So like I said, in the original script, all this dialogue that Jappy and Ryan are going through is supposed to be with Xavier Roman, and then Roman ends up getting killed at the end of this episode, and that was supposed to be the end of it. And that's more when the original script focused more on the corruption of the police department, focused more on Chief Collins being the villain, and and I kind of decided to go the other way because I really liked Jason in the part. I love that shot. It's one of my favorite shots in the whole film. Jappy's a good friend of mine. He's the only person that's in this movie playing two different parts. It's pretty great. He appears much later in the film as the sniper. It's subtle, but and it's kind of a hint as to how long it took us to film this crap. So, by the time he shows up again, he's got a full head of hair. That was another one of my favorite gags. That was actually utilizing the same rig that was supposed to be used for Danny when he got stabbed in the neck. But it actually worked that time on Jappy on the floor, pumping blood out of his neck into a puddle. I originally wanted a lot more spurting and gnarliness, but it just didn't work. But it turned out really well for what it was.
So this asshole told you he owns the
Right into episode 4.
Yeah.
Some of you eagle-eyed people might spot some tricky, some goofy shit hidden in the background of this film. There's a lot of people standing in the wrong place, being seen. One of the biggest discrepancies here is, and I don't know why I'm telling you guys. If you don't notice it, I don't know why I'm giving it away, but John's shirt. Episodes 2, 3, and 4, this next segment all takes place back to back to back. But it was filmed in such a distance apart that John misplaced his shirt. So he's wearing a button-up shirt in the previous episode. So we put on this shirt. And then we were able to tie it back together with the next episode where he's putting the original shirt back on over the camouflage shirt. Like he was wearing that shirt underneath, so it worked. This is another good friend of mine, Mr. Eric Ingen, punk rock lawyer. Dude is he's an awesome guy, punk rock legend.
We got a major fucking problem.
And Mr. Lenny Glantz, who's actually Jappy's dad. Lenny was another last-minute replacement. We had another friend of mine who actually I didn't really know. He was like a friend of a friend. And I'd been talking to him back and forth and stuff, and it was supposed to be good to go. And the day we were to film, that morning, we were supposed to all meet at the house at 10 to start filming. At 9 o'clock, I couldn't get a hold of the original actor. And I was stressing. So I called around. I actually called Jappy, and I was like, dude, you got any ideas? Because Jappy was actually running a second camera on this episode. And he's like, well, just ask my dad. I'm like, dude, that's brilliant. Lenny is one of the coolest guys I know. He's, dude is funny, and he's good. I mean, he came in with like maybe an hour of practice. Came in and gave him the script, and he was reading over it. And I mean, it took a little while to get this scene all shot, because anytime you're filming a conversation scene at a table or something like that, where you got to get coverage of 3 people or more, it can get really tricky, and you got to make sure you got a lot of coverage, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But we had a blast filming this, and actually one of my favorite shoots was the scene coming up here with Lenny and Ryan. The fight scene in the bathroom, which was fun to choreograph. It's amazing when you cut it together and how short it was. We thought it was this epic fight scene, and we cut it all together. I'm like, all right, that wasn't nearly as long as I was hoping for, but but it came together pretty well. I still get shit every time I go over to their house about the chunk taken out of the sink from dropping the knife in it. There was a little cut in the sink. These shots of John walking around, This part right here always cracks me up. Him eating the Mike and Ike's. That was kind of on the fly. Like, oh, are those Mike and Ike's? I'm gonna eat some. And we just thought it was hilarious, so we put it in the film. This song is actually Stolus, this badass band out of Vegas. Super cool guys. That's some nice Photoshop there. This fight scene was a blast to shoot, man. That was actually one of my favorite little rigs. I was super proud of that. What we actually did is kind of cheesy, but what we actually did was we took the handle apart. I bought two knives, identical knives. One of them would come apart. We removed the blade, and we kept the handle. And I built a little piece of wood with a strap that actually went around Lenny's back, strapped around his chest, and the handle would actually attach to that. And we cut a little hole in the shirt and fed it through, so the knife is kind of sticking in his chest. And it turned out great. I mean, super low budget, low tech, and sometimes practical stuff looks way, way better. And I'm always a much bigger fan of practical effects. Digital stuff can look good when it's done right, but it's tough to make it look real. This is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Actually, it's not that far out in the middle of nowhere. It's like I said, we filmed all this in and around Kingman. Of course, Mr. Eric Ingen, she playing Chief Collins, shows up out at the meeting. You know, Ryan and John all snazzed up, handsome sumbitches. This scene was shot. That's why I love movie magic. We shot this cafe scene, I think in like October, and then we shot the rest of this episode that happened supposedly 2 hours after this scene out in the meat. I think we shot that like 6 months later. And it all ties together quite well. But Eric came in, and he was another one of those things where I had someone else that I was talking to for the part of the chief. Would have been kind of interesting because it was a female, and I liked the idea of a female lead villain for the film, and it kind of fell through. She kind of backed out on us, so I was like, well, who else do I know? And I was like, well, shit, Eric would be great. He's a lawyer, so he kind of adds that air of authority, and he'd have to go face to face with Jason Marino, and I just knew this is going to be a good scene. I love that. Beale Street Brews, super cool people. I went by there, talked to them about filming, and they were totally down with it. They're super cool, and they have damn good coffee. Jason was raving about their cappuccino he got. Nice little sniper shot. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the sniper is also played by Jappy, who played the shaved-headed right-hand man assassin from the previous earlier episode in the warehouse. This was actually the first scene we shot in an outdoor location where we had good sound. We had this really cool little field recorder with sound dampening and stuff, and it was windy that day, and I was worried how it was all going to turn out because I had been kind of avoiding shooting outside because with the wind that we get out here, just jacks up the camera mics. There's Jabby, full head of hair now. And I was actually super happy with the way it turned out. This segment is actually probably my favorite in the whole film. This desert meat scene, all this stuff out here. Also, early into production, I got a new camera. The first 3 episodes were filmed with one camera, a certain camera. There's my brother, Nick Lee, my older brother. The first 3 episodes were filmed with a different camera that I had, and I had finally bought a camera that I'd been wanting for a long time, the T4i. Great camera. I love it. But I had acquired that, so then you get, like, you can kind of tell it's subtle, but there's a little more depth to the film, a little more depth to the look of it. There's a lot more going on.
We'll be in touch.
So they kind of took a jump in quality. But my brother had come out visiting. He actually lives out in Texas, and I knew that we were planning to film this scene, and I hadn't cast the internal affairs agent yet. And I was kind of tossing around between a couple people that I had in mind, and then when Mr. Nick Turner, love that shot. I was very happy with the way that turned out. But knowing that my brother was coming out, I was like, awesome. I'll get my brother in the movie. Nick Turner. Ruthless murder. Nick actually came back. He had moved to San Diego. He had shot a bunch of his scenes later in the film. This was actually one of the last things we filmed for the movie. And then knowing that this scene was shot, he planned a trip back out to California, or from California to Arizona, so that we could knock this scene out real quick. And Nick's a cool guy. I like him a lot. And here's the introduction to the lovely Joanne Marino. Ryan's uncle has a bona fide armory. We needed a place to shoot to that looked like it could be this assassin's main hideout with all of her weapons and stuff. And Ryan was telling me that, oh, my uncle's got a cool workshop and stuff, a bunch of guns and stuff. And we're like, all right, well, let's cruise by and take a look at it and see what he's got going on. The amazing Joanne Marino. She did a fantastic job with this. When I talked to Jason about first being in the film, he mentioned that Joanne might be interested in playing a part, and honestly at that time I hadn't finished the script, so I wasn't really sure what was going on. He kind of was like, well, what about like a badass assassin chick? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. So put her in, and I really liked her character. She did a good job with it. She's right in this film. She's kind of a mystery. You don't really know all the details about her yet. You just know that she's kind of this badass assassin who's strictly in it for money. In the end, she kind of shows some true colors about, you know, how she deals with business. And I purposely kind of left it open for her potential to do more with her character in the future, of Simone. There's Mr. Rick Scott and my wife Jasmine Lee. Anyway, Ryan's uncle let us use his warehouse and all of his guns, and we just went through, and we were like little kids playing G.I. Joes with all these guns, and picked some of the cool ones to show off. This was another home run from Jason Marino. We were needing a location for the interrogation room scene. And I was like, well, ideally there would be a window into the other room, you know, like an interrogation room, you know. And he gave me keys to this office that I guess I believe it was his mother-in-law owns or something like that. I think that was the deal. And I went and looked at it, and I was like, dude, this is perfect. It's just totally perfect. So we staged it real quick, and we knocked this scene out. Rick's another friend of mine. Almost all these people are involved in the music scene in our town, little town, Kingman, Arizona. And Rick was the singer of a band called Fifth Gear. Cool guy. I've known him for a while. I actually met him through another filmmaker who was making a commercial that I was just kind of helping him out with. I was trying to get a little bit of experience and see how other people work, and I had met Rick through that, and thought Rick was a cool dude, and when I was coming to write this character of Jason Decker, Rick was one of the first people I thought of. I was like, okay, this will work. And then the other character, the other internal affairs, Riley Morgan, played by my wife, Jasmine. Pretty much written with her in mind. I mean, we wanted Decker to have a partner. So we figured, all right, well, this movie's kind of a sausage fest, so we'll try to get another female in here. I overall, I liked the interrogation room scene. It's a little slow, but I mean, I had big hopes for it. I really had big hopes for these shots here, where where Ryan and John switch places at times. It's kind of a cool idea that I don't know if it worked all that well, but you know, it was kind of a plan. And here we go into a different location, although it's supposed to be the exterior of the police station. This is actually the the courthouse in Kingman. It's a cool old building. I just love the big pillars out front and stuff. So I knew that I wanted to use it in the film. So we kind of staged it to make it look like the exterior of the police station. You can see the Mojave County there. It had rained, clearly, the day before and the morning of. We were kind of worried if we were going to make the weather. And you might notice that all of a sudden it's a lot sunnier and less wet now. This is filmed. This was actually the next day. This was actually one of the bigger shoots. We did 2 days straight. Long days, actually. I love this shot. I just thought it was cool. The camera's in the car, and then it pulls out the window, and she drives away. Nothing complicated. I just thought it kind of looked cool. But it's just showing the assassin is on their tail, watching out for him. Now this is out at the shooting range. This was a fun scene because they're shooting live ammo. They are actually shooting real guns, which was kind of exciting to do, because John had never really fired a gun. So that was kind of a cool thing we got to play around with. But we had the idea where, man, we could have him actually shooting, and that'd be kind of fun to get through this dialogue, because all this dialogue was originally just supposed to happen while they're driving in the car. I was like, we've been in the car enough. Let's get to a different location. So this is the county shooting range. The police use it out in Golden Valley. So we cruised out there, and they let us in. Super easy deal. And, we got Rick and Jasmine showing back up. Rick being doing a fantastic job of just being a cocky, arrogant prick. It's funny because he's not that way, but he just plays it so well. That's probably one of my favorite lines in the movie. Xavier Roman is a Sagittarius who likes long walks on the beach and his asshole eaten out with peanut butter.
Can't actually tell you that. Open investigation and all. Let's just say you two.
And you eagle-eyed viewers can spot the difference on John. No headphones. Headphones. No headphones. Yeah, whatever. We kind of that was actually an outtake though. He said cock gobbler. That was an outtake that just happened to be running, and I thought it was funny, so we kept it and used it. But a lot of the outtakes, a lot of these guys were just improv and making jokes, and a lot of it made it in because it was funny. And it just kind of added to the personality. That was one of the great things about having Ryan and John, who were really good friends, like in high school and stuff. And they kind of drifted apart from moving away and stuff. And then when I told them that, you know, they were my friends in different fields. And then I got them back together for this movie, and all this camaraderie that went back to when they were buddies in high school was just great, because they just have all these stories and they get along so well. And there's Joanne just being a total badass. Joanne was awesome. I really didn't know what to expect at first. I didn't know her that well, to be honest. I knew Jason. I had met Joanne. And he's like, all right, badass assassin chick. I was like, all right, cool, we can make that work. And I met her, and she was super cool. And she did this part really well. I know she was kind of hoping for a little more character development, but I really like the idea of keeping her more of an enigma in this film. You don't really know that much about her. She's just kind of this badass killer, and I thought it'd be fun to possibly explore that in the future. Rick is a he's kind of a racer. He's into tuning and cars and all that kind of shit. So that's actually his car. And the laptop in there is actually all for his racing stuff. There is the lovely Mindy Sue.
I'm working on it. It's pretty slow moving.
These two scenes were shot months apart, but they work together pretty well. So it actually looks like they're talking to each other, but they're not. Again, this is another part where I wasn't sure who was going to play the part of Turner, where we were going to film it at the last second. We just said, screw it.
That wasn't part of the deal.
John's an audio engineer, recording and stuff, music studio. So we just kind of went into his control room and had Mindy come over, and she nailed it, and it was great.
Are you fucking crazy? I'm the best cop on his payroll.
Yep, there's the big twist. John Quinn was in on it, dirty bastard. But if you gotta go out, you can have a lot worse final sights than seeing Joanne standing over you, I guess. Rick really did a good job during this. He was really into trying to make it look real and good and whatnot, which I was very happy for. Because I had a lot of people that at first didn't really take it very seriously, and then he kind of got into it. Of course, Joanne taking off with Ryan in the trunk, bailing. This was actually filmed in John Feeney's house. We made it real easy. We're like, oh, we're just going to film at your house. I was like, oh, okay. There was kind of a debate on whether or not I was going to show graphically John die at the last second. I mean, I went ahead and did all the effects and everything for John getting shot in the head. But I wasn't sure if I was going to maybe crop it so you didn't actually see it. Because I was thinking, there's the difference there. There's, you're supposed to have liked these people, Ryan and John throughout the film. And when John turns, the hope is that you feel betrayed. You've grown to like this guy, and he stabbed you in the back. So I wasn't sure if you'd want to see him die. Like, yeah, fuck that guy. I can't believe he stabbed me in the back. Or, what a bummer that he's gone. So in the end, I ended up leaving the graphic bloodshot head, shooting the head, and it worked fine. Mr. Nick Turner, Mr. Danny Gire, as Jason's two bodyguards there. Nick all snazzed up in the suit. Shit. Handsome sumbitch. Cold-blooded. Jason's shooting his own wife. Man. I kind of did that on purpose because I thought it was funny. I was like, yeah, Jason, you get to shoot Joanne. He's like, sweet. Well, the only problem is she's not dead, and she's gonna kill you later. Hopefully that wasn't a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen the movie yet. And if you haven't seen the movie and you're watching the director's commentary, you need to be punched in the sack.
You know, this is funny to me because last time I saw you,
this was a fun shoot. This is an airplane hangar, obviously at the airport in Kingman. A friend of Jason, Chad, the Burgess, let us in to their hangar and used basically their hangar and their plane as a prop in filming this scene, which it works out better than originally I had planned, because the original plan was I wanted to shoot it actually on the tarmac. And the airport gave me all kinds of crap about filming, FAA and all kinds of stuff. They wouldn't let me out there. So I didn't know what I was going to do. So Jason came up with that idea, and we shot in the hangar, and it worked out great. Chad ended up actually having a cameo, a small part here in a few seconds. Here we go back with Jasmine and Mindy.
Morgan, it's Turner. I was able to get those backgrounds you wanted. And Jake Marshall turned out clean as a whistle. He's a model cop.
Mindy did a good job. She was kind of, like I said, she was a total last-minute replacement. Not really a replacement. We didn't really have it cast. We didn't know what we were going to do yet. And this was a scene that I expanded on. It wasn't actually there in the original script. But I figured, well, we know Quinn was crooked. But the other cops never really find out. So I expanded this scene to kind of explain a little bit so that they kind of knew what happened and heard more about it. And it gave Mindy and Jasmine a few more lines, a little more to do, which was cool. It's always nice to look at some pretty faces over a bunch of ugly dudes.
Great. Decker's in pursuit of a hired killer.
Back to Jason is punching the shit out of Ryan. And that is Chad Burge. We totally wrote in his character that day. He wasn't in the script or anything like that, but he was kind of there, and he had worn his pilot uniform, and we were like, well, shit, dude, you can play Jason's pilot, and we'll give you a couple funny lines and have something going on. And then just all their toys that they have in their hangar, you know, the Hummer and the Sea-Doos and the boat, and this was actually one of my favorite sequences. I liked it a lot, the shootout sequence. Nice little shot. Boom, Danny's dead. Again, a lot of it was, you know, ends up getting trimmed down so far, but I was pretty happy with it. The bullets ricocheting and stuff, and boom. It's one of my favorite. That's probably my favorite death in the movie. Nick Turner getting blasted with a shotgun at point blank. It just looks brutal, and I was really happy with the way it turned out. I love Chad hiding in the plane. This scene went through some rewrites at the last second. I wasn't happy with the exchange, so we kind of played around with it. Made it work pretty well, I thought. Still got the job done. Jason goes into one of my favorite parts in the whole film, his shit talking scene.
Neither one of you can do it. You don't have it in you.
Couple of punk ass bitches.
Specifically, you're a punk ass
I love that. You specifically, you're a punk ass bitch. There was an outtake where he goes, "Yeah, you who wears shoes like that and that jacket. What is that?" It was so great. That smile, fucking, that killed me. That's part of the outtake, but I just thought it was too great. I had to use it. Joanne blowing Jason's head off. That's actually probably my biggest regret with the film. I can't fucking stand the way that turned out. I really wished that we had done something else with Jason's death. I mean, that's how it was scripted. But the way it was cut together, I just wasn't happy with the way he got shot and stuff. And I didn't have any footage of him falling down. it just cuts away so quick, and I mean it worked, but I was kind of bummed out, but yeah, it worked. This scene did well. Nice little sad moment. That was kind of a little insight into Simone, Joanne's character. You know, she's a ruthless killer, but you know, it's nothing personal. It's for business, and when she's not being paid to do something, she ain't gonna do it. You know, she killed Jason at the last second because he reneged on the contract. Fuck it. You hungry? That was the one thing that I worried about later in the film. It was, as soon as we revealed John as a traitor, I worried about the humor going away. Like there was pretty consistently jokes and stuff throughout the film. I was really worried about killing that the relationship between the two of them, if it would kill any humor. So we tried to sneak in little jokes here and there, but that was probably one of my favorite jokes at the end of the film. Rick Scott, Joanne Marino. I don't have a single regret with casting. Everybody did a fantastic job. If anything, I wish I could have gotten to use them a little more, because some of these guys, such people in general, the girls did fantastically as well. And there were people friends that I had that just still wanted to be in it and wanted to do more. And I didn't have any more parts. There were a couple parts that I literally wrote so that I could have a couple more friends be in it. And Danny Flo, musician. There's my buddy Nathaniel Glantz, one of my best friends in the whole wide world. My buddy Chris Lay. I love that shot with the smoke freeze frame and stuff. Nando, Rudy. I had a blast making this movie. I learned a lot. Don't fucking move. It took a long time scheduling Susie. Susie was great. I really wanted to bring her back later in the film, but just didn't work out. And Mindy's awesome. And Chad Burge. I love that shot. Just comes up, takes a sip of his coffee. I had a lot of help with this film. It was cool because they were all friends. I left all the music credits in here, even though they were in episodes. But Stolas was the one who one of the few that were actually still used in the film. This song is Shell Corporation. It's over now. My band No More Heroes played with Shell Corporation in Lake Havasu not long ago, and they were fucking amazing. And I fell in love with their CD. It's really good. Go buy it. Force Majeure. Shell Corporation. And asked them if we could use the song in the credits, and I think it worked fantastically for the credits of the film. I'm working on other projects, and like I mentioned earlier, I would like to revisit the character of Joanne, of Simone, played by Joanne Marino. It may or may not happen, but I like the idea. I thought it'd be cool. Obviously Scott Quinn is dead, but Jake Marshall might show up in something in the future. You never know. But that was Marshall Quinn, and I thank you guys for listening to me yak on.